Welcome to the Stop Over Drinking and Start Living podcast, where high-achieving, goal-oriented rebel women come to learn how to live a vibrant and fulfilling life without requiring alcohol to get through it. No labels, no judgments, no saying you'll never drink again. Just real proven methods to help you stop rebelling against yourself with alcohol so you can drink less and do more. I'm your host, Angela Mascenik. Let's dig in. Welcome to episode 382. You did the work, you slipped, and now you're hiding. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast. How's everybody doing? Welcome to May 2026. I have been thinking about a phenomenon. I don't know if it's a phenomenon, but there's a thing that happens. And it's not something that we really are excited to talk about, or at least maybe if this is you, you're definitely not excited to talk about or like real eager. And it's this thing what happens when you have some success in changing your relationship with alcohol, or maybe it's weight loss or something like that. And you put in a lot of hard work and you had great success and you're on track, and then life happens and maybe there's some big event in your life or a job change, or maybe nothing, maybe just life happened and you are back to a pattern that you thought you were done with. And really what's happening is the drinking probably isn't the hardest part anymore. The hardest part that you might be experiencing is the shame that you're back to, in quotes here, where you started. And you feel really embarrassed about that, and the feeling that you had it figured out and you blew it. And I want to talk to y'all today that have been there, maybe you're currently there, because I know you're out there. And I have a feeling there's a good chunk of you all listening to this podcast who have been in a live AF, or potentially a private client of mine, or in one of my other programs, or maybe even on a past retreat that, you don't want to come forward because you're so embarrassed and so full of shame that you're here again. And first of all, I just want you to know that there's nothing to be embarrassed about, okay? And we're going to get into that in a little bit here. But this is what sort of like the slip feels like for you. You had that stretch where things were different. You were on top of it. You were feeling good. You were like jiving. Maybe it was for a few weeks, maybe a few months. Maybe it was for longer than that. Maybe it was a year. You felt lighter. You were happier. You were sleeping better. You're proud of yourself. You were sharing with what you were doing with people. People around you noticed. Maybe you noticed yourself enjoying things more. Like maybe you got into sunrises like me, or maybe you were, really great at exercising or having more meaningful conversations, whatever. And then something happened. Maybe you had a stressful season. Maybe your kids got into trouble. Maybe there was a vacation. Maybe there was a relationship thing, a loss. And like I said earlier, like maybe there was nothing dramatic at all, just life, right? And you notice a gradual slide back into old habits. Maybe it was just that one time you said yes to a drink that wasn't planned or intentional. And then you said yes a few more times. And then 3 months in, you're right back to where it felt like you were before. Okay? And now you're drinking in a way that feels familiar, but it's not in a good way. And it's layered on top of that there's something wrong with you because it feels worse than when you started, because you're not like going back there. You know better now, and you're still doing it, right? And that is just such a brutal place to be. And I have been there myself with many things. I actually had to I'm like, what is this called? What is the term for this? So I did a little reading and some researching. It's actually something that a lot of people in recovery talk about, and people that research recovery. It's called abstinence violation effect. And Albert Marlott and Judith Gordon back in the 80s came up with this term, and it's still one of the most important and widely used concepts in behavior change research. And here's basically what it means. When someone who is genuinely committed to changing slips or makes mistakes even once, the brain doesn't read it as a single event. It reads it as a total failure. It collapses all of that work that you did, the whole thing. And so we have these thoughts that you might think, I've already broke it, so what's the point? right? That's that fuck it stuff that we're very familiar with. And that collapse, and I'm using my hands like smashed together, right? It's like a collapse that sends people spiraling, not the slip itself, because the slip itself really isn't that big a deal. It's one day, right? The slip was that one moment, right? That evening, whatever it was. And the abstinence violation effect turns it into like this sentencing, this verdict in your mind. And sitting right underneath that effect of that violation of the abstinence, right, is shame. And it's its own beast. So shame is not the same as guilt. Guilt, I've said this many times in the podcast, guilt is something that we say, I did something bad. Shame says, I am something bad. And guilt is actually useful. It points us at a behavior that you want to change. Shame points at you as a person and says, you're the problem. I'm broken. It's my fault. That's, what we say to ourselves. And Brene Brown is an excellent researcher, especially she's like researches, a lot of her work is on shame. She says shame needs 3 things to survive: secrecy, silence, and judgment. So secrecy, silence, and judgment. Take away any of those things and it starts to loosen its grip. Shame does. But when you're in it, shame does something very specific. It makes you avoid. And psychologists call it shame-based avoidance. It's the embarrassment of the slip becomes a bigger barrier than the slip itself. Okay, so you go quiet, you cancel a call, you stop opening the emails, you stop showing up in the community, you tell yourself you'll reach out when you have a better week or you need to get some more success under your belt before you come on and talk about it. When you've cleaned it up a little bit, you'll come on and share more. When you have something to show for yourself. But the week doesn't come because you're trying to do it alone. And the thing that worked before was that you weren't doing it alone. You were doing it with support. You were doing it in community, right? So I want to help reframe this for you. Progress in this work is not linear. Okay. There's not just a trajectory of like a even, flat, smooth line that goes up, right? It's up and down. It never has been. It's never been a smooth road, right? It's never been perfect. So the people who come back after the slip is not the same person who started. Like you have learned things, right? You have, and all of that you learned and all of that success that you may have had in the beginning or before is still there. And you are now a different person returning with more information, more data about yourself than you had before. And you have a different trigger this time. You have a different story that you've told yourself. What you have to kind of like get to the support and have another lens on it to actually see what you were actually needing when you were reaching for that drink. Okay? This is not a failure, I promise you. We are always just collecting data. So you're not back at square one. There just isn't that situation. You've learned so much that you can't possibly just go back to where you were before, right? Square one was before you knew things, right? You know things now. And that's, again, like why this can feel so painful and so shameful. It's like, I know better. I should do better. Okay. It's not going back to what you didn't know before. It's just like your brain wants familiarity, and it's easy to go back to, our triggers that had that comfort on the other side of it, right? So please don't feel bad about yourselves. I know that you will. And especially if you're in it, you're going to feel bad, but please don't let that stop you from reaching out and getting support. Okay? There's nothing wrong with you and nobody's going to judge you. Okay? So specifically, I know that people who have worked with me directly, maybe you, again, like a private client, maybe you came to a retreat, maybe you were in Stop Over Drinking and Start Living, and now in your place, you're thinking about reaching out to me. You want to. Part of you know it's the right move, but you're not doing it. And I think I know why. And I've been wanting to talk about this for a while and haven't had like the language around it or like know the exact psychological terms until I spent some time looking at it. But there's a specific kind of shame that lives inside relationships where someone has witnessed your growth. This can be in a friendship. It can be in a romantic partnership. It can be in a coach-client, therapist-client relationship. But it's called relational shame, and it's that shame that you feel not just about what happened, about the slip itself, right? The drink or whatever, but about the person who knows you and what they must think of you now, that they might see you in this imperfect lens. And it's heavier than like regular embarrassment, because there's this history, there's a story attached to who you were before. And so you might be telling yourself things like, she already gave me everything I need. I have no excuse. She's going to have to go over this with me again. She's going to be so disappointed. Everybody saw me have success. What do I even say now? Like, is that even valid? I should have figured this out by now. I already did the work. And because of this relational change or shame, you're experiencing, it's like that is a barrier that is up. Not that you're consciously putting it up, but it is a barrier that is preventing you from getting the help that you need. You want help, you know that it's available, you know it worked before, and you're still not reaching out because of this. And that's how powerful shame is. It blocks access to exactly what we need and what would help dissolve it, right? And so I want you to hear me on that. None of what the story that you're telling yourself is actually true. Nobody is going to be disappointed in you. I'm not sitting here thinking you failed me or you failed yourself. I know exactly how this works. I know that coaching or being a part of the membership or working with me isn't a cure. Like, this is an ongoing behavioral change that we always need to be paying attention to. Okay. Like, I'm not perfect either. Yes, I haven't drank in 8 years, but I still do things that I was just telling a client today, like, I am somebody that will always rush. I try to slow down. I try to, not make myself carry all of the groceries in one load and then drop all the things and forget things, right? But that is a part of me that I'm constantly like witnessing and observing, and that's just one little thing about me. Like, I'm quick to react to things. I judge my husband a lot. Like, there's just so many things that we all have that are constantly like works in progress. And the drinking sometimes isn't the worst of it, right? Like, even if you went a year without drinking and then you drink, that's one day. The shame and that disappointment that you're feeling and that fear that like you feel like a fraud or whatever it is, that is actually what's holding you back. That's actually the problem. And sometimes you have to shine a light on that. You have to be willing to raise your hand and be like, I did this. And I promise you, as soon as you share that with somebody or with me or whoever it is that helped you before, you will get lighter and you will get back on track faster. Okay. You don't need to secretly suffer in silence and isolate yourself from this. Okay. So I really want to encourage you to come back. If you're in a live AF and you've been quiet, you've been silent, come back, share. Because the quicker you do that, the quicker that you will get back to feeling better and getting on back on track to, what you need to be doing. Nobody is a failure. The people that actually do this and will take me up on this and listen to this podcast episode and be like, that's totally me right now, and then come back and share and admit, those are the most courageous. Those are the ones that will actually go on to have way more chances of success and permanent change. The ones that can't move through that and be with those feelings and then still decide with their higher conscious self that they don't want to stay stuck there, those are the ones that will suffer the longest. And it makes me so sad because I know that some of you listening to this, you feel like I'm directly talking to you and you still won't do it. I really want to encourage you to do it. Really, really encourage you to be brave. Like, nobody is tracking. Nobody in the membership, nobody who you've, shared with before in a group situation or anything. Nobody's tracking anything. They just want to love and support you. We all need community. We all need to be seen, and doing this in isolation, as you know, doesn't work. And so, because if it did, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be nodding your head and resonating with everything that I'm saying. Yeah. So we want to support you. We want to help you move past this. And we really lovingly encourage you to come back and talk. And I certainly, I've coached thousands of women through this stuff, and there's nothing that is going to shock me. There's nothing that's going to surprise me. There's nothing that you can say that I'll be like, oh yeah, you can't be helped. Ever. Okay. So all that to say, shame is telling you that it's difficult, right? That it's a big barrier of getting the support you need. So remember what Brene Brown says: shame survives in secrecy and silence. And so the moment you shine light onto it, you bring it up in a conversation, you share with a group, it starts to lose its grip. Okay, that's actually what happens. That's not just an idea. When people like come on a call with me, if they're a private client, they're like, okay, like I didn't follow my plan. And then they start talking through it. They feel lighter and better. And it's not like we make these stories up in our head about how awful that's going to be. And it really doesn't have to be. Okay, I'm not your parent. There's no punishment on the other side of this, but you're punishing yourselves by keeping this secret, right? Like the punishment is that you're not where you want to be with your drinking, and you deserve more than that. Okay, so you don't need to come back with any explanation either. You can just show up and share. That's it. You don't need to explain anything. You don't need to prove yourself to anything. You don't have to have it all together. Okay, you just have to come back. So the longer you wait for it to feel less embarrassing, the louder the drinking will get. It probably is not going to ease up over time. And probably if you did get success, if inside of a program or with a coach or something like that, and that's what elevated you, that's what got you going, and that's what helps you have more success, trying to figure this out on your own now is probably not going to work just because it didn't work before. Right? It's not all of a sudden like you're going to change and be somebody that can like navigate this on your own. And there's nothing wrong with you for needing help with that. We need help for all sorts of things. I need help cleaning my house. I need help hanging pictures on the wall. I need help carrying big, heavy things, right? I need help with my bookkeeping. I need help doing my taxes. I need help in my business with my administrative work. Like there's just so many things that we need help with, and we have no problem hiring out that help. People need help with their drinking. This is not something, it's too twisted. It's too complicated in our own minds to navigate. We need a professional to help us weed through that and to show us our truth and to show us what's real and what's not real and to help guide us. And there's no shame in that at all. Successful people know this. Be smart. Raise your hand. Get support. Okay? The shame will keep you in that barrier, and I don't want that for you. Okay, so whatever that feels comfortable for you, take the first step. Send me an email. Go post in a live AF, right? Send me a private message on Instagram, whatever. Let me know. That's going to help you break through, I promise. So coming back, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when you don't know what to say, even when you feel like you have to explain yourself, that's the move. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look pretty. You can stumble through it. You just have to show up. Okay, so you can still feel this way. You can still feel that shame and still make a move. Take that first step. Raise your hand. Okay, and I promise you, as soon as you do, you're going to start to feel better. And there's going to be light on it, and you'll feel release, and won't be hiding anymore. Secrets and not telling the truth are not healthy for us. Okay, it causes a lot of other problems, and I don't want that for you. And there's no reason for that to be, especially in our environment, right? Nobody is tracking you. Nobody is going to go run off and tell your boss or your family or your cousin or your husband or whoever it is, right? It's just for us. We know the struggle. We're here for you and we love you. Okay? You know how to reach me. So if we've never worked with me before and you want to, I would also love to connect with you. If you've been struggling in silence on your own and you've not had professional support around your drinking, and it's been more than a year and you've been trying to do this on your own, it's a good sign that you need some professional help. So send me a message, hello@angelamascenik.com. Check out the Alive AF membership. I do private coaching. You can come join me on a retreat. There's so many different options for support from me to help you stop over drinking. whatever that means for you. All right, my friends, I'm loving you, sending you so much light and love, and just raise your hand. Okay, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.